Welcome everybody to our internship webinar from CWS. I wanted to give you a little bit of background or information about the Caucus for Women in Statistics and Data Science. We were founded in 1971, and we are here for the education, advancement of women in statistics and data science, and are open to all people who support our mission and our vision. And those statements are here. Also at the bottom, you'll see that we have a website and an email address, and we'll be able to put those into the chat later on so that you're able to learn a little bit more about CWS along the way. Big plug to get started with a little more information about our membership. So many people attending today are students, and so our student membership is free. And we also have a good value for money membership at other levels as well. So developing countries and first-year members are $10, and our continuing members are $30. We have a variety of benefits for our members, and those are listed here, but I'll hit on just a few of them. So when I mention awards, we specifically do offer some travel awards for the joint statistical meetings, as well as from some conferences in India. And we have event exclusive summaries, event executive summaries, and there will be one of those for this event. So if you are looking to get a membership today or over the weekend, that's fantastic. We will be able to send out a executive summary to you next week, sort of notes from this event. We also have other exclusive events like the NIST writing workshop at the joint statistical meetings, and like ASA members receive a discounted membership or discounted conference fee for JSM, CWS members receive that same discounted rate as well. We also are always excited to share the successes of our members through our member spotlights and other activities. So hope you would join us and become a member of CWS. There are two events we want to bring your attention to. One is the International Day of Women in Statistics and Data Science Conference. That will be on October 8th of this year, and we will add this website to the chat as well shortly. We will be accepting abstract submissions coming up pretty soon, and so this is a great opportunity to not only hear some fantastic presentations, technical, career, and also consider presenting yourself. And coming up on April 17th, we have Nancy Geller, who will be giving a career talk, a really engaging and amusing story about her career. And we hope that you could come and learn and listen from Nancy and get her advice and perspective. She's fantastic. And so that's on April 17th. You can register on the CWS website. And now for our real main event, we are so pleased to have Cheryl, LeSaint, Jeri, Mulrow, Brittany, Heikke, and Pegah, Karimi as our speakers today. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our speakers, and we will begin with some introductions. So Cheryl, would you give us an introduction about you and your experience?
I have a master's in statistics from Ohio State University. I currently work at CWS Institute. I've been here for 17 years. I'm in the R&D part of CWS. Initially with the CWS stat procedures, and now I work with the visual statistics and visual machine learning products. Currently, I manage a team of 7 developers. I have 2 of those are year-round interns. They were initially summer interns that have been converted to year-round. And I've managed a number of interns. I was trying to count, and I was like, I can't even count them all over the years. So I've been in management for probably, I don't know, 10 of those 17 years.
Great, thank you. And Jeri, happy to hear from you next.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation to join. I'm Jeri Mulrow. I am a vice president and director at Westat. I currently oversee the statistics and data science area at Westat. We have about 80 statisticians, data scientists, survey methodologists. I've been at Westat for about 5 years. During that whole entire time, we've had both summer interns and academic year interns. I joined Westat after retiring from the federal government. So I spent most of my career about 30 some years in the federal statistical system. So prior to joining Westat, I was at the Bureau of Justice Statistics. I had also been at the National Science Foundation and the National Center for Science and Engineering Statistics. And prior to that, my first job in the Washington, D.C. area was at the Statistics of Income Division at the IRS. And I also had interns when I was at the National Science Foundation. I was lucky enough to be able to work with interns there. So this is an exciting panel to be on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeri. And Brittany.
Hi there. I am a data analyst at present at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill within the Matthew Goodfellow Research Center, which specializes in TBI and concussion research. And I am a somewhat recent intern. I did my summer internship just out of school in the summer of 2022 at RTI International within official statistics center there. And continued on for a period full-time at RTI. And so I've only been at UNC now for about 3 months, but excited to share my experience with you all.
Thank you. Pegah.
My name is Pegah. I have a bachelor's in chemical engineering. Then I got my master's in management and another master's in business analytics. During my recent studies, I was also an intern at the Center for Business Analytics for almost a year. And afterwards, since previous September, I work as a senior data scientist in a fintech startup.
Wonderful, thank you. And so let's start with Brittany, and then we'll go to Pegah with having you share a little bit about what your internship experience was like. As we've got a group of folks here who hopefully have some internships lined up. Share a little bit about what you experienced in your roles.
All right, thanks, Cynthia. So my internship, as I stated, was done during the summer of 2022. I was a very fresh graduate out of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with an undergraduate degree in statistics and analytics. And I had made a decision to start off my post-education period with an internship to get a soft introduction to the area of statistics that I thought I wanted to work in. And that internship at RTI, like I said, was done under the Center for Official Statistics, which is a center that houses some 85 or so statisticians who all specialize in supporting project work for clients across the Institute. And so my expectations going into the internship would have been at the front end that I'm going to be going in and supporting work for clients and for projects. And in reality, I was brought on by this team to support a special project that was really an internal investigation and initiative into certain areas of technical capability within RTI. And it was a topic that, when assigned to me, I didn't really know what to do with. I had no background experience in this topic, which was called record linkage or data linkage. And the initial ask for me was to go and have conversations with other employees of RTI about their experience in this technical area. And even though I knew that an internship was, probably going to require a lot of different skills that other than those that I had developed in my school period, which was, doing computations, conducting analyses, data cleaning, I don't think I was quite prepared for how heavy leaning this particular internship was going to be into areas like communication and teamwork and learning how to converse with other scientists, other researchers who had very varied but very deep backgrounds and topics that I could barely comprehend myself. And so I kind of had to go into this internship with a little bit of an adjustment of my expectations. And it ended up being better than I thought it was going to be, mostly because I got to talk to so many people. I got to learn from people who had been doing this kind of intense research work for years and the kinds of problems they were seeing in real world applications of statistics that I just had no comprehension of because I'd never had that experience myself. And one thing that I was pleasantly surprised by is that even though this internship was very much communication driven, it was about having conversations with people about their experiences. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do my internship to my best abilities without also understanding this topic and understanding it thoroughly. So I somewhat took it upon myself to become a very fast researcher in this topic, and I would dive into journal articles and websites and YouTube videos and probably old textbooks and things that were uploaded illegally on the internet that were a great resource to me at the time when I was trying to learn this topic really fast. And it ended up being kind of a passion area that when I was hired on full time after my internship, I just continued to explore, continued to try to build on and grow in my time at RTI. And at the end of my internship, I was able to present all of the things that I had learned. I was given the opportunity to put together a formal presentation to share both internally with RTI researchers, but also to the public about the work that I had done and the things that I'd learned. And then during my internship, I also had the opportunity to, especially in a large place like RTI, this is kind of important, but like just convene with other interns who were in the same place, doing the same things and completely different topics. And it was a chance to appreciate the other contributions that were being made that I didn't necessarily get to see day in and day out in a place as large as RTI, but also to have some sense of team building and camaraderie with others who were on that journey with me.
Thanks. Pegah, tell us about your internship.
So I was an intern at the Center for Business Analytics. It's a center at University of New Hampshire, where I was studying my master's in business analytics. So I interned there for duration of my studies, like a year. And it was like, we were groups of interns and we worked on a specific project until that was done. And then we moved to the next project. And it was a great experience for me because I could implement things I learned in class in those projects. And sometimes I was like, I remember there was a project about time series analysis, and I was like, I'm gonna learn this next semester, not this semester. But it was great to see that what I've learned in class actually was helpful in real world projects. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And let's hear from our sort of employer side of things. So Cheryl, would you tell us what the internship program is like at SAS and sort of what are you looking for from the employer perspective? Like what makes it feel like, hey, this was really successful with this intern?
Yeah, happy to. So the internship experience at SAS, we usually interview candidates in the fall. It starts in the summer, and they're here for about like 12 weeks through the summer. We do try to give them kind of like a dedicated project that they then will present on at the end. And we have like an intern expo at the end of the summer where they can kind of, it's an internal thing that we host here. And, you know, similar to Pegah, SAS has a lot of interns here over the summer. So definitely encourage you to talk to the other interns. So all of the interns come together at the end of the summer for the expo. We do typically hire interns as summer interns. And if we're lucky, we may be given an opportunity to convert them to full-time, and that comes up, or year-round, I should say, that comes at both the interest of the manager and the intern, and then also just the ability to convert to year-round. So there's kind of like 3 things that need to happen there before someone can be converted to year-round. And as I said, I have 2 year-rounds, so I feel very fortunate right now. As I said, we do typically have, like, I try to think of a project. that's related to their background and their studies. So I'm trying to kind of balance two things here. You know, we have the business needs, but we also want to have something to be relevant to them. 12 weeks goes by really fast. And so we want them to be able to jump in and be contributing pretty quickly. So when you can identify a project that's related to their background, that helps a lot. But I do try to have, you know, kind of a set project of like, you know, this is the goal. And, you know, kind of lay out the hope and adjust as needed over the summer if things change. For me, success, I would say, is from my perspective as a manager, you know, I want you to learn something. I want you to learn something about yourself, learn something about working in a company, learn something about what we do in particular. Maybe you get some technical skills in the work that you do. You know, if you're successful at the project and have something to present at the end of this intern expo, great, bonus. But really, I feel like internships are just such a wonderful opportunity that, you know, kind of dive all in and really kind of just try to learn as much as you can while you're here.
Thanks so much. Jeri?
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's going to be sort of similar to what Cheryl was talking about. About 2 years ago, Westat put together a formal summer internship program, which covers across all of our different areas. So you would have a cohort in the summer. There would be a cohort of interns that you would come in with, and you would be able to, like Brittany was saying, you know, talk with other people, or maybe it was Pegah, talk with other people within the internship program. We have also had, and this internship program is open, we usually open the posting, we have a job posting for it in the January, February timeframe. It's open to bachelor's, master's, and PhD level people. The internship can cover, you know, obviously we have ones in statistics and data science, but it could also be in our subject areas like health or education, might even be in transportation. It could be in one of our business units that are looking for interns. So it's just a variety of types of internship programs. So when you come in as an intern, you get to meet people from a variety of different backgrounds, and then a variety of different areas across the company. Our summer internship program is a hybrid. So you can be remote or you can be on site for the program. Most of our students that come in have been remote since we started the formal program. But we also, like I said, when I've been at Westat for 5 years, the statistics and data science area particularly has had an internship program dating prior to when I came. And we would have 2 or 3 specifically summer internships in the statistics and data science area. And those would be in the summer. And then sometimes, like I mentioned, we would have a school year academic program too. I think what we try to do is really, like Cheryl was saying, was really look for projects that would be have a set time period so that the internship, the intern would have a specific kind of project that they would work on. It might be that you have a couple of different projects given the nature of our work. So you might work with one person on one project and work with another person on another project. But the key for me is to be sure that the project scope is enough that the interns can get something meaningful done during the time period. Because we want you to learn and get experiences and gain some of those skills, both in the technical side and, as Brittany was saying, on the communication and team building side. And from my perspective, I would like for you to have a project that would be a contribution to some of the work that we're doing, one of our projects or something like that. We also have at the end, we get all of our interns together and the summer interns, and they do the presentations also. So a little bit of a mix there, but I think it dovetails very nicely with what you've just heard. So.
It does, thanks. I think we've got a group of folks here who are interested in advice or sort of your top tip for having a great summer internship. So let's go around. We'll go Pegah, Jeri, Brittany, and then Cheryl. So if you'd share maybe your top tip for someone who might be starting an internship this summer.
I would say, as Cheryl mentioned, it's a great opportunity to learn. So don't be shy, try to learn, try to ask questions, be open to learn new stuff. And yeah, I think that's my top 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think be curious. I like the fact that Brittany was so proactive in taking the step into learning about something new. But I would also say, take it as an opportunity to really meet some people. Maybe you'll meet a mentor, maybe you'll meet some peers that will be buddies that you'll be friends with for, down the road. I would say, take those opportunities, take it as a great opportunity to just learn and meet people. Those would be my top tip.
I think mine goes nicely with both Jeri and Pegah's advice, just with a little bit different edge. I think be a listener first and foremost in every situation you walk into. And that can be in one-on-ones where you're just going and having coffee dates with somebody to ask them about their career. It can be attending seminars or larger group meetings, but just go into every environment with the perspective that whether you're actively listening to somebody speaking to you or you're just observing and being present in different spaces, you're there to listen and absorb as much as you can.
So I had to write down what others were saying to make sure I didn't duplicate, because I very easily could have said everything that everyone else has already said. 100% echo all of that, but maybe I'll add something different to just kind of balance things out. My tip, if you know who your manager is ahead of time, like I said, we hire in the fall, but they don't start until the summer. So they've got all winter and spring. I know who my intern is. They know who I am. I've had interns reach out to me and say, hey, what classes should I take in the spring? What things can I study? What can I do during this time frame before I start for the summer to help me be in that place of hitting the ground running right when you start? So if you know who your manager is, if you have that opportunity, I would absolutely recommend reach out to that manager and ask what you can do to prepare for it ahead of time.
8 tips, everybody. Thank you. So changing maybe the tone from tips to perhaps pitfalls or challenges, keeping it real with the idea that internships are a great opportunity, but they're not always picture perfect. Does anybody have challenges they think that people preparing for an internship might face, might experience, or should just be aware of as you're going into this new environment?
I'll take a quick stab. For me, I'll kind of say be flexible. A lot of times the manager has some control, but not as much as you might think they do. And sometimes things are outside of my hands and I'll generally be pretty transparent about that. Like I said, even just converting from summer to year round, there's the third peg is, does the company support it? Or sometimes the project that I had initially identified for you doesn't work out like I thought it was going to, and we need to change gears. As Brittany was saying, she went in and just kind of got a completely different internship experience than she had initially thought beforehand. So just be very flexible and kind of roll with it, because it's kind of figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, I echo that. I think that sometimes things just don't work out, or maybe you go in and you think, like Brittany was, oh, I'm not going to like this task or something. So give it a chance and see, really try to work at it. I mean, I think if you give it a shot, and you'll generally find something that is positive out of it. I would say that, and I've not had this experience, but I would say that, if it just isn't really working, you're not getting the feedback that you need from the supervisor or your manager, you're just, they're not getting some of the opportunities. And I mean, really nothing. then you probably will, I would suggest that you talk to the either internship coordinator or the human resources department, because the company wants to get that feedback that this is maybe not working for the intern. And they'd probably rather get that sooner than later. So, after, if after a month and you're just not getting any tasks or you're not getting any assignments and you can't get any communication, you definitely will want to be proactive in reaching out to that. So I think that's the only one pitfall I can think of beyond what Cheryl was talking about in terms of just being flexible with the tasks. So.
Thank you. And Brittany or Pegah, would you want to add anything that you might want to call out as challenges or pitfalls?
I can add something pretty quick. I would say that if you find yourself in the position that we've talked about where something isn't quite matching what you expect, you're given a task that you don't really know what to do with, I would say before you go and talk to people, talk to your supervisor, really just try to expand that task on your own to really understand it. So like build on more than what you've been given, I guess, learn more than what you think you need to, and ask questions about a topic that maybe nobody told you to ask straight away, because oftentimes that's where I found the biggest learning experiences, were just simply asking more questions than I thought I needed to about a topic that I was in charge of learning. So.
Yes, I would also like to add, as Jeri mentioned, feel free to speak up if you think like it's a month past and you feel like you could have gained more from that internship. Speak up, because there are people there that really want you to succeed. So.
Great. So I hear some strong themes there of don't let something linger, really do speak up. That, a little bit of self-reflection probably goes a long way to make sure that you've got reasonable expectations of the company, but companies want you to have a great experience. Awesome. So beyond doing good technical work, what's your suggestion for interns in terms of navigating office norms, culture, communication? As Jeri said, many of the Westat interns are remote, so navigating perhaps that remote work experience. Does anyone have suggestions in terms of perhaps those softer skills related to internships?
For me, I learned a lot of soft skills in my internship that maybe I wouldn't have learned in university just by studying. Overall, I think the culture of universities are very different from workplaces. So internship is kind of in between. It provides you a great opportunity to kind of transition between these two cultures. So I would say be open to experiencing a new culture and try to be flexible with it. I like companies usually have great cultures. Sometimes some things don't work very well. Try to adapt to the great ones, and be selective to what you get adapt to also.
Yeah, I'll say, I think all different organizations have sort of their own culture. So, even different academic institutions will have different cultures across the different institutions. The same is true with different companies or government organizations. I think that a couple of things one is, listen to how people are conversing, read how people are writing things, read about the values and the mission and the goals of the organization. This gives you a feel for the culture. But I would say also, if you can connect, often we will provide a buddy for an intern who's not an intern, but is somebody who's been at the organization for a few years. They have a little bit of experience. So if you're assigned a buddy, I would say, please reach out to them, talk to them, ask them a lot of questions about the culture and the communication styles and how people like to interact. Sometimes they'll get you involved in some outside activities that many of the company employees will be, participating in. And if they ask you to join, I would say that's a good way to get to, hear from people when you're not in the organization, when you're not sitting in the workplace, but you're working with people, you're having fun with them or you're doing some other activity. It's so, listening and talking actively is really important.
Yeah, I might echo that. I think, and echoing things we've been saying already, is like ask questions, talk. Something that I generally try to have with any new hire are questions around expectations. And so I think you can ask those questions. What are your expectations? Are your expectations in the office or remote or hybrid? As interns, we support both hybrid, or all three, basically. What are your expectations of the hours that I should work? What are your expectations of, like, if I'm sick, how do I communicate that to you? What is the best communication style with you? How should I reach out with questions? Kind of just, ask those just basic logistic type questions, I think, is always a good way to start an internship or working with any new manager. I would say anytime you're with a new manager, it's always good to kind of level set those things with your manager.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just kind of echo what Pegah specifically had talked about and just add, I think what I learned myself is that a new work environment is really a new culture. And just like any new culture you walk into, you kind of have to be okay with discomfort. And there's this sense that you will not really start to understand or even well emulate a lot of the things that are happening in a professional environment right away. And that's okay. So be okay with that discomfort and then just keep practicing, and don't let your little foibles or, mistakes along the way deter you, and don't get hung up on them, because a lot of the people around you have a lot more patience and grace with you than you may have with yourself as an intern.
I think I never actually knew what the imposter syndrome was until I worked in an office setting. And the imposter syndrome is very real, and you might experience this for the first time and know that it's natural and you're okay. And even though you feel like an imposter in the role you're in right now, everybody feels that way and you're not that. So don't worry.
Great points. Thanks, everyone. Let's skip around a little bit, and of course, certainly we've got questions that are starting to come in, but as I get to reading through that, I want to encourage other people to ask questions. Yay, I'm glad you're doing that. Thank you. As we're getting more questions in from the audience, I'd love for anyone who wants to complete this sentence. To make a summer internship even better, ... So if anyone wants to take a stab to make a summer internship even better, help us fill that in.
To make a summer internship even better, employers cultivate a culture that values intern contributions and doesn't see them as temporary seat warmers, but teammates, however short-term. And yes, I did write that down beforehand because it was something that was really important to me, was the feeling that I was part of a team and that I didn't have to sit off in a corner somewhere, so to speak, that I didn't only see a few friendly faces once in a while who knew who I was. Create that environment where interns feel like they are belonging to the space that they're in for however this short period is.
For me, to make a summer internship even better would be by setting expectations as an intern beforehand. What are the main top 3 things that you expect to achieve after this internship? Are they soft skills? Are they this specific technical skill? Do you like to learn how to use this specific tool? What are your expectations? And then track it over your internship, whether you are reaching it or not. And if not, communicate it with your manager or that person who is assigned to help you. Yeah.
So I would say to make a summer internship even better, don't be afraid to ask questions. We are not expecting you to come in and know everything or know who everybody is or anything like that. We are hoping that it will be a great learning experience. And so please ask the questions on the technical side, on the communication side, on the expectation side. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That'd be my advice.
So for me, making a summer internship even better is to use it to learn about more than what you're asked to do. And let me explain that in a second. So not only do I manage interns, but I myself was an intern. When I was an undergrad, I interned at Procter & Gamble. And I was an undergrad and I was never going to graduate school, was my mindset. I was like, no, I'm done. And as I'm working and I start, I'm naturally not an outgoing person. I don't go and sit there and talk to a lot of people, but use that internship to talk to a lot of different people in a lot of different roles. Find out what they do, find out what their background is. When I'm in Procter & Gamble, I'm like, oh, I really want that job. And oh, wait, that needs a master's degree in statistics. And oh, wait, maybe I should actually do that. So do your work. Definitely do the job you've been assigned by your manager. Talk to your manager, talk to your buddy. We also use buddies at SAS. But talk to all those people around you as well. Learn about their jobs. Use this as a learning opportunity. I used the word of a gift the other day, and I think I'll say it again. This is a gift. Use it as a way of just kind of testing out this culture, this company, these roles, these jobs. And maybe the work that you're doing for your internship, you can do it successfully, but maybe that isn't what you want to do for the rest of your life. And maybe you see somebody else working in a job that you could see yourself doing, for your career. So use this as an opportunity to kind of really kind of check yourself and see what you want for yourself long-term. And it might put you on a different path.
Excellent. There's a lot to be said for you need to see something to then become and to be able to be it. So a lot of times we don't know, even as people who have, great statistics programs and in undergrad, you might not know what the options are. And I think to Cheryl's point, see somebody, talk to them, ask questions. People love to talk about their career and share advice. And so that's terrific. So we've got some great questions from our audience as well. So I'll open this first one up and see who wants to contribute some ideas. Suppose I already have secured an internship. Yay, congratulations. What are some topics or questions that I can talk about during the lunch or breaks with colleagues? So this is coming from an international student looking for some useful or maybe safe topics. Anyone want to share some tips with a student?
So I would say one question you can ask is, obviously ask what kind of work they do, what they like about their work, how they got started in that work, who do they work with that they like. Those kinds of things about that are pretty safe topics, I think. And kind of interesting too, to hear how people got into their roles or interested in what they're doing.
Yeah, and also like some of their current projects, like what are your current projects you're working on? How do they look like?
Yeah, I was going to say the same as Jeri, is kind of like asking, this is a great interview question as well. If you're ever interviewing and talking to different people within the group of what do you like about this company? What do you like about your work? What do you like about the manager I'm working with? I think those are all kind of good questions to start. They start really interesting conversations sometimes.
Great. Brittany, go ahead. If you want to add to that one, feel free.
I was just going to add, one of my favorite questions to ask is, what's your favorite thing you've learned recently at your job? Because most of us, when we're learning something, we're nerding about it inside and don't really have people just open up and share with. It's a good way to get people to talk about what interests them.
Yes, and a good sign to also that people are having fun and continually learning if those are values that you have and you'd want to see in the workplace that you join. So the next question is about, when a student is close to finishing their internship and there's still more to do, what are some recommendations about how to effectively wrap up and manage one's time while managing the expectations of what's happening with these remaining mini goals? So sort of balancing the amount of time with the size of the project, perhaps that an intern was given. Tips, advice?
Don't be afraid to say that to your manager. Be like, I have all of this and I'm nervous, I'm not going to be able to complete it all. Can we break this up into chunks? Is there something that's the highest priority from your perspective that you would really like to see me finish? We need to be told that. We don't always know. Sometimes we know, sometimes we can, and usually when somebody tells me that, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's break this up. Let's chunk this up. This would be the top priority. If you get to these other things, these can be stretch goals for you for the remainder of your internship. If you can get to them, great. If not, that's okay too. I would love it. Do you think you could finish this in the amount of time you have left? These are the types of conversations I'll have with my interns. Don't feel scared to start those types of conversations.
That's terrific, Cheryl. And I would say that that's a skill that is not just a skill for interns. That's a skill that many people need, that help with prioritization. It also lets people know that you're thinking about priorities and you're thinking about timeliness and that you want to do well. And so it's definitely a great question. Other suggestions?
Yeah, I'm going to add something that I really took away from my time at RTI, which is this idea that we should be training for transitions, and that when we are in a project, we should always be thinking forward about who's going to be picking this up after myself. And I would challenge an intern, as you're thinking about these goals that you have, really try to understand which ones are the ones that the internship is setting for yourself and which ones are those that you're putting the pressure on yourself to complete instead of transitioning back to your teammates and to the place where you've had your internship. And if you're not sure where the line is between those two, again, talk to your manager. They're more than happy to help you better understand what are realistic goals for yourself.
Nice. All right. So what are some techniques that can direct our conversation during our internship to improve our chance to transfer that to a full-time opportunity? So this might be something that Jeri and Cheryl can talk a little bit about. I know Cheryl mentioned a little bit about this, but are there any ways to be optimized for a longer term type position?
Yeah, I mean, we have the same kind of constraints as Cheryl was talking about. We have to think about the projects that we have that are coming up that might the intern might be able to transition into a full-time. We have to be sure that the company itself supports that transition for the intern into a full-time kind of position. So that's from the employer perspective. I would say from the intern perspective, I think what you want to do is, if you realize that this is something that you're pretty interested in, that you start talking with your supervisor during the internship that this is something that you think you would like. Here are some opportunities that you think you could, additionally learn from, so that they understand that you are also very interested in that. Because sometimes if you don't have those conversations, then maybe the employer will say, okay, well, I guess they weren't that excited about this role. And, they may ask you, are you interested in this? And then you should really, express honestly what you think and where you see some potential additional opportunities for yourself. That would give them the clue that you are also looking for that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, 100%. I'll take a step back and say, use the internship. I was saying 3 pegs. One of the pegs is you. Make sure this is really what you want. In an interview process, you're interviewing for the job as much as they're interviewing you. In an internship, you're trying out this job as much as they're trying out you. So make sure it is really what you want to do. And then, as I was saying, it's kind of, do you want to do it? Do you want to convert to full-time? Does the manager support you being converted to full-time? And does the company support it? I will absolutely echo what Jeri just said. If it is something that you want, say it. There have been times where I have been in a meeting with executives and I have to say if they're interested in a full-time employee, and I'm like, oh crap, I don't know yet. I haven't asked them that. So if you know, say it as soon as you know. It helps so much because sometimes those things need to be said very quickly at other levels that we just don't even know until we're in it. And then beyond that is just, express your interest in the work, make sure your manager is happy with your work, ask for feedback, make sure keep course correcting, make sure you're doing a good job at what you're doing because you want to make sure your manager is also interested in converting you to a full-time.
Those are great. And I will certainly put a pin in the idea of ask for feedback because that's one of my favorite topics, and we'll try to get to that in a few moments. I have two questions that I'm going to try to sort of combine, but they're both around the idea of concern or stress or feelings of inadequacy around technical skills. Like, how can I be prepared? Like, it sounds like we have a lot of folks who are really conscientious and want to make sure they have the right skills and abilities, but they're nervous that they show up and they're not going to be ready or be at that level to do good work. Is that something that our interns experience? Is that something that we see in interns? Can anyone give tips or advice to those folks?
So I personally experienced these feelings a lot, as Cheryl mentioned, the imposter syndrome. And I thought it's only me, but then I did some research. I asked others. It's apparently very common. Everyone feels like this. It might even be that in my first few years of work, I still have this feeling sometimes. The good thing about an internship is that you're an intern. Everyone knows you're an intern. You are there to learn. They don't expect you to be expert in that topic. They expect you to know some things, to be eager to learn, so that they can also guide you towards how to learn it, how to be better at it. Just accept it and be open to learning.
Yeah, I would say that you were probably selected because we thought you could learn. We didn't expect that you would necessarily know everything, but that you had the foundational skills that were needed to be successful. So, we want you to be successful. So I think it's asking, again, coming back and asking the questions. And if it seems like this task is a little bit further, above what you need, then, you can dig into it a little bit yourself. You can also let your supervisor know, hey, look, I need to do a little bit of learning to get up to the speed to, figure out how to do this. So it might take me a little bit longer than you might expect, but here's how I'm thinking about doing, getting those skills. Do you have any suggestions for how I can build up my skills in this area? So again, I think a lot of it is about the dialogue and the communication you have.
That's great. And Jeri, if I could ask a follow-up to you or to others, do you have a rule of thumb of like how long a person should sit and struggle with a thing before they go out and ask somebody else or before they look for a resource? Like, is that a conversation people should have with their manager, or how do you handle that? Because it sounds like these folks are used to maybe thinking, oh, well, I'm going to go to office hours, or this is like a homework assignment. I've got to figure it out on my own. How does that sort of academic experience translate to the workplace for you?
Yeah, it's definitely much more accelerated than the academic. I would say because we are working on projects that have deadlines. And we kind of have plans of how we want to get the projects to the deadlines. And if we have a project for an intern, we are still hoping to, maybe the deadline's a little more stretched, but we still want to make sure that they're getting something. So for me, I think spend a day on it, but if it's really not clicking, have the conversation sooner than later, because it's only in 11 or 12 weeks. So a day or two actually goes by pretty quickly. And if you let it go by a week, you've lost a lot of time that potentially they could have given you a resource and you would have been able to pick that skill up or been able to read an article or something like that in a day and be, you know, starting to actually move forward. So I would say sooner than later, and don't try to go down the rabbit hole yourself.
I might even say, ask your manager how long they want you to struggle with something. I knew one manager who said 2 hours. I'm like, I don't think I would say 2 hours. I would probably say like a day or 2 days. Or the internship does go by quickly. Ask your manager when you're struggling with something, because we do have deadlines, we do have things that need to be delivered, and we don't expect you to know everything. We understand your interns, and we can very easily pull in other resources. And I am going to restate, imposter syndrome is real. You're going to feel like you're not worthy or whatever it is. And just know everybody feels that way, and it's okay. And you can say, I don't know this. What resources can I use to learn this? You know, kind of say from the beginning again, is if you can reach out ahead of time and learn any topics that you can kind of self-teach before, and then study stuff outside of work hours if you need to kind of build up some of your background and knowledge. But don't be afraid to tell your manager you don't know. Don't be afraid to tell your manager, you know, you need to build up that background, and ask for resources for building that up. And you might be given a project that, you know, it's a very specific thing to do that you struggle with. And I would definitely ask your manager, you know, how long do you want me to struggle with something before I ask for, or let you know I'm struggling.
Thank you. And with just having, you know, a little over 5 minutes left, I'd like to open it up to all of our panelists. If there's anything that you haven't yet, you know, gotten to say that's a real big passion area for you that you think is important for our audience to hear, you know, feel free to just jump on in with your main point that today needs to be said. So go for it.
This is going to be fun. It's great. Like I love working with interns. I mean, use this. This is going to be fun. I think, you know, you're given something. I mean, in truth, it might feel stressful, but it's really low stress. Like as a manager, I don't expect a lot from my interns. Like anything I get from them is gravy, to be perfectly honest. So like, don't stress. Use this opportunity to learn, and you know, learn about yourself, learn about the company, learn about work environments and all of that sort of stuff. But you know, like they are fun. I think they're great, and I am a big fan of interns, and I will always manage an intern because I believe in that process so much, and it is so valuable that like you're very fortunate if you have one.
Yeah. Something I'd like to add is sometimes like a company opens an internship position, they usually set up some structures about it, but not all companies are very well structured or very big organizations that already have those kind of structures in place. You might find an internship there, and it's a great opportunity. You might want to go there. Don't expect the whole thing to be very well structured and perfect. Also, be proactive to contribute to making it better. If you're not getting feedback, tell your manager or your buddy that, like, do you have any feedback for me? Is there anything I can be better at? Do you see specific strength in me that you want to share that might guide me for my future next steps? Be proactive in getting the most out of that internship. Don't wait for the company to provide all those things for you.
So the one thing that was my biggest takeaway from my internship that I wish I could go back and tell myself is remember, this won't apply to everybody, but it will apply to a large portion of people. Remember that the work that you're doing as an intern probably didn't start with you and probably won't end with you. That doesn't make it any less significant a contribution. And when you're going into your internship, don't think about it as a blip to write on your resume about what you accomplished, as if there's some kind of final end date, but you're still learning and you're still taking so many valuable skills from that. Don't lose sight of that if something is a whole lot bigger than you at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's about the experience. It's really about the journey. You're starting the journey if you're starting an internship. And so this is kind of the beginning, and you're testing the waters and you're learning, and hopefully you're having some fun and you're meeting some people. But all experiences are good. They help us learn and they help us grow. So I would say also take advantage of these kinds of stay connected, like with the CWS, stay connected with the statistical community, statistics and data science community. Oftentimes your employer will support, going to a webinar for an hour or something like that. So take advantage of some of those opportunities too, and stay connected.
Thank you so much to each of our speakers. I am just so pleased to have you all today, for you sharing all these great insights. And if you would like, feel free to pop into the chat your website or your LinkedIn profile. If that's something you would like to share with folks, feel free. And again, if folks are members of CWS, or if you would like to become a member of CWS, we would encourage you to check out our membership opportunities at cwstat.org, and we'll be getting out our executive summary of this event and being able to share that with others. And we do have one final last question about how do you think people should be able to stay in touch with the mentors or the company? Anyone have a suggestion for that question?
Oh, I would get you'll have their email address, and I would just send them a note at the end and say, thanks for the internship. Can we stay in touch? And I will say they'll, 99.9% of the time you'll get a yes, let's keep in touch kind of thing. So don't be afraid to do that.
Yes, that's wonderful advice. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of our audience. And thanks again. Hope that you check out some future CWS events. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.